think I'm going live now. I don't know how long the camera catches me before I go live, so I always make a funny face. Hopefully it's not too funny. Anyway, we are here this week for another cheap, easy, delicious, and nutritious vegan recipe. And I am so glad you're here. I love all the support of people joining every week, and especially to Courtney and Kane who are watching from Nova Scotia. Hi! Anywho, we are actually making a dessert today, and you can already see the secret ingredient, so there's not much of a reveal there, but we are making a type of banana bread, and it is actually a super easy recipe that only takes almost literally a minute and a half. So it's going to be super fun, and you don't even need an oven for this. So that's awesome. We're going to go ahead and get started, and we are going to be making a special icing for it as well. So let's get started. So this recipe, and in my past, I probably would have been embarrassed to make something in the microwave, but now I don't care. We all have to use what is accessible to us. So we are making a banana bread mug cake, which is, if you don't know what a mug cake is, it's basically a cake that you make and you microwave it in a mug and then you just eat it. So I'm super excited about this because we had some bananas that are going nasty and I wanted to use them instead of throw them out. But if you're new here, if you are watching, you're new, please consider subscribing to my channel before I even get started on this recipe. I haven't even told you yet, but I wanted to see if you could subscribe to my channel. It'd really help me out. I'm almost at 400 followers, which sounds really low, but it's super exciting to me. So, oh, and I see an old friend, Rachel, in the chat. I'm so glad you made it live. That is exciting. I haven't seen you on the chat in a long time. Anyway, banana bread, here we go. So these are pretty brown, but they'll be fine on the inside. And the browner bananas get, the sweeter they are, which is nice. It helps for the flavor and stuff, but I feel like gross when they're squishy, so I'm actually going to use a knife, so don't judge me for that. So I'm actually making a double recipe of the original recipe I found because I have a big mug and a big appetite, so we're making a double recipe. So what we need is about 2/3 of a cup of banana. And for this recipe, I am going to kind of measure it out because I just want to make sure that the liquid content is okay. I don't want it to be, you don't want to have too much banana because then your mug cake won't cook fast enough in the microwave, and you don't want to have too little because then it'll be all dry and weird. So I've got my measuring cup. So again, 2/3 of a cup. So I'm going to guess that we're going to use probably both of these bananas. Let's just see how that looks in my measuring cup. And a funny factoid about bananas, everyone talks about how bananas have a ton of potassium in them, which they do, but they actually are pretty low on the scale on the list of items that have a lot of potassium, but it's kind of an easy thing to eat if you want to increase your potassium. And I actually read a stat, which I should double check, but I'm going to tell you anyway, that I think an equal serving of like Reese's Pieces peanut butter pieces style things have more potassium in them. Okay, so we've got a little bit more than 2/3 of a cup, so I am going to take some out and I'll put it in this little container. Maybe I can use that in a different recipe. Ugh. So this is kind of hard to figure out, but I think we're at 2/3 of a cup, and then we're going to put it in our mug. And then we're actually going to need a fork because that spoon is not working for me. And then we want to put in a tablespoon of oil. So I have olive oil right now. And you do need a bit of oil because it helps with the texture. But to double this recipe, it'd be 2 tablespoons of oil. And I'm just going to go a little bit less because I still think I have too much banana. So let's do a tablespoon and a little bit. There we go. I gotta check my recipe. So this is a recipe where I'm making this for the first time live on camera, so we're gonna see how this goes. And then we need a tablespoon of plant milk. So I have some oat milk, which is actually really good because it'll make it be nice and creamy. So we're gonna add 2 tablespoons of plant milk. Sorry, I think I said 1 or something. So now you have, this is all the liquid ingredients you need, and I'm gonna ad-lib this recipe and put some vanilla in it because I love vanilla. And we're just gonna do probably like half a teaspoon of that. I don't want it to overpower the banana flavor. And then we're gonna mash that right in the mug until it goes as smooth as you can possibly get it. So this is another reason why super ripe bananas are better. So, and I was telling my friend Kane that he can probably make this all by himself. And it reminds me of a recipe that I used to make after school with my sisters. So I have to look up this recipe. So it was like oats and cut up apples and brown sugar and cinnamon and probably a little bit of milk. And then it was like an apple crumble. Yeah, this is a huge bottle of vanilla. It's all organic, natural vanilla that I picked up in Mexico the last time I was there, and it's still kicking around this bottle because real good vanilla is hard to find. So we've got our banana, and it's kind of like a fluffy consistency, and there's still some chunks of banana, but you just want to get it as smooth as possible, have everything like well incorporated. So now we're going to add our dry ingredients. So we're going to add 2 tablespoons of brown sugar, or you can use coconut sugar. And then that was a little, they were kind of still in like the shape of the spoon, so I'm going to mix that in a little bit because I also don't want a giant chunk of brown sugar. And then we have 6 tablespoons of flour. So that's just regular flour. And then now we're going to add some seasonings. Where are my seasonings? So I have cinnamon is traditional, and we'll just put a little bit of that in. I don't like measuring, so probably half a teaspoon at least, if not a full teaspoon. Actually, we can add a bit more. There we go. And then I always like to add in, you can't see it, some nutmeg and ground ginger as sort of a secret ingredient. You can do just a few sprinkles and you'll get a little bit of different flavor out of there instead of just plain old cinnamon. You know I like to be different. And then what we need to do then to help this rise is we're going to put in a teaspoon of baking powder. Oops. There we go. Throw that away. And then you want to put a little bit of salt in just to amp up the flavor. And then this is all in the same cup. And we're going to mix that. So you want to mix it, because we're microwaving this and it's in a mug, you want to mix it thoroughly to make sure all of the flour is incorporated, but you don't want to like over mix it till it's like to a ridiculous level because it will just be too thick. So you just want to like scoop around the edges and make sure there's no like chunks of flour, and then otherwise you're good to go. And then if you wanted to at this point add in like chocolate chips or walnuts or whatever other toppings, this is where you would add it in, and it looks really nice if you can then sprinkle a few of those toppings on top. But I'm doing the what am I talking about? I'm going to do icing, so I'm not going to put any toppings. And then another tip for mug cake, you can kind of see it there, is to make sure that you push, if you can, is push all the dough, anything that's stuck to the side of the mug down in, because it'll get all sticky by itself on the side of the mug. So actually we can give this a taste test. It's the best part of not cooking with chicken's eggs is you can just eat it raw. So it's pretty good. Yeah, I get the cinnamon in there, so I love that, and you're gonna get like a gloopy texture. And then this is gonna go in the microwave actually for 80 whole seconds, which is gonna seem long on my cooking demo. So we're gonna get it in the microwave for 80 seconds. Maybe I'll do a little dance. But what you could do when you are microwaving it is you can get started with your icing. So we're doing a cashew-based icing. So I have some cashews soaking in some boiling water here. You can soak them overnight, or if you have a really good blender, you could just throw them in. So I'm going to microwave that, and I'm going to put the cashews in my bullet blender while this is microwaving. So hopefully the sound isn't too loud. So if you can hear me, I'm going to take the water out of these soaked cashews. And I basically only did like a little handful of cashews. We're going to throw those in. Right in there. And then we're also going to put in powdered sugar. And it's going to be this one is going to be a bit of a game because depending on how much liquid you have, if you've ever used powdered sugar for stuff, it just like eats the powdered sugar and you end up putting in like 17 pounds of powdered sugar, which is way too much. So let's put a whole bunch in there and then we'll put the liquids in and then that will give us an idea of how much liquid to put in without ruining it. Because I've done it before where you put in the liquid and then the sugar and then you're just constantly measuring out sugar. So let's start with 2 sort of tablespoons there. And part of the liquid you want, so the idea for this is more of a sort of cream cheese style icing. I don't think a lot of people eat banana bread with icing, but I wanted to. So to get that tangy flavor, we're going to use a little bit of lemon juice and a teeny tiny bit of apple cider vinegar. And we've already hit our 80 seconds and I can smell it. So I'm going to stop the whole icing thing and I want to check this out. So it looks pretty good. It filled up the mug with that baking powder, but it's not jiggling. Sometimes it'll jiggle and I don't see it jiggling. So I think that we're pretty good cooked in the middle here. So let's do it. Oh yeah. So that knife came out pretty clean. I'm so pleased with that actually because the last time I made a mug cake, you had to really like figure out the timing to get it cooked, but 80 seconds and done. And it smells like I baked in here. So we're going to let this sit because it is a little bit moist on top and then we can let it settle and that'll give us time to make our icing. I'm really happy with how that turned out. Another tip too is is to use a nice wide cup instead of a tall skinny cup. It'll just cook better. So I think that did it. All right, back to our icing. So we've got our soaked cashews. We've got 2 tablespoons of sugar so far. And then we're going to use lemon juice. So I'm going to measure this out because I want to get this right. So I'm going to do 1 teaspoon of lemon juice. And then for the apple cider vinegar, you want to be really careful if you're hand bombing this in because if you put too much apple cider vinegar, it's going to alter the entire flavor. But I find apple cider vinegar when I'm making like cashew sour cream and things like that, it really gets that tang that you're looking for. So let's try 1/4 teaspoon to start. So this is the only time I measure stuff is when I'm not sure because I don't want to splash it in. So 1/4 teaspoon. And then obviously that's still very dry. So we're going to add some oat milk in. And I'm going to start with let's do 2 tablespoons. This is my thought process when I'm cooking. So you're here along for the ride. So that looks probably like too much liquid, but we're going to give it a go. Actually, I can already tell it's too much liquid, so we're going to have to put in more sugar. All the tips I gave you at the beginning of this icing recipe, out the window. Anywho, there we go. 1 more tablespoon of sugar. And we'll whip this up. I think this will be a lot louder than the microwave, so here we go. I can't talk today. Okay, see what the texture is like. So super, super liquidy. Complete chef fail. I'm supposed to be the expert. Totally failed. Okay, so let's put a little bit more sugar in. I just want to get a little bit more of a thicker texture. I'm not looking for like a super thick buttercream, but I just want it to not run all over the place. But if you Like it runny, go for it. So let's just blend this real quick. I love that tip from my friend Rachel there in the chat. If you have too much icing, make more banana bread. That's perfect. So we're still getting, so we've got a bit of a thicker texture, and we're gonna drizzle that over top. But again, in hindsight, I would have put only 1 tablespoon of the plant milk, or even less actually, and it probably would have been just fine. But I wanted to make sure the cashews got liquefied there. Okay, I'm so excited for this. Watch. So we're gonna pour that over top. Just cover it a little bit. And then if you wanted to put more chocolate chips or something on top, you could, but I just want a little bit of icing going on there. So, yeah, so that was the right amount of apple cider vinegar for sure. It's not too sweet actually with that amount of sugar in it. I'm not getting overwhelming sweetness, but now I'm going to try it. I'm really excited to see what the texture is like inside. And again, you could totally leave off the icing. So let's see if we can get this on camera. The texture. You can kind of see it. Yeah, it's got really good texture inside, like it baked or microwaved up pretty good. So you guys can see that. Hopefully it'll focus on it. Oh, look at that. Perfect focus. So it's nice and dry, but like dry as in not undercooked, but still super moist. And then you got the icing on it. I'm happy with that ratio. Like I said, the last time I made a mug cake, it was like a chocolate fudge mug cake, and it was just like wet inside. It was horrible. Let's give it a go. It's probably really hot. Smells so good, actually. Oh my gosh. That is still a bit hot, but that is hands down the best microwave dessert in the world. I can feel like I can say that confidently. Wow. This was a good one. I say this every week, but this is really a good one that I found. So, oh my gosh. Okay, that's really good. All right. I'm going to see if I can find on my phone where I got this original recipe. Really good blog. Jessica in the Kitchen. Vegan banana bread mug cake. But again, if you want a full mug, this is kind of like a bit of a larger size mug, double the recipe, and you have yourself an amazing, amazing dessert that took 80 seconds. All right. I guess that's my dinner today. I'll finish it off camera because I could keep going. And now I have a little bit of extra icing. I can make one the next time we have brown bananas. And you can see the really brown bananas are the best because they're super soft inside. Obviously, if they're all completely black inside, maybe you want to pass. But these ones were just fine. So that's it. Let me know if you try it. Thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate the support every week. And even if you can't make it live, you can always watch the video with the same link, and it really helps me get more views. And then that helped YouTube like me, and then more people will subscribe, and I'll get to 400 subscribers. So everything is good. Now, if you have a chance, you can also help me out by sticking around on YouTube and watching any other video. It'll help with those YouTube algorithms. But otherwise, you can join me here next week, and you can find me on Instagram and Facebook. All right. Have a good night, everybody. Bye.